honourable members. I would like to thank you for this interesting debate here today. The current economic and financial situation requires decisive policy action, and we believe that the European Investment Bank's activities are a crucial component of the EU's effort to bring back sustainable growth and employment to Europe, especially with the EIB and the Commission partnering in the challenging delivery of the investment plan for Europe. I am confident that the Parliament's assessment of EIB's activities in the year ahead will be as supportive as its opinion on the 2013 annual report, and I look forward to a continued close and successful cooperation between the Commission and the Bank. Thank you very much.
Merci, monsieur. Je redonne également la parole à monsieur Hoyer.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you very much for this interesting debate. It would take a lot of courage and endurance on your side if, in view of the variety and diversity of the questions and comments raised, I would go into each and every detail, but I promise you we'll come back to each and every one of you on the questions you have raised. Let me concentrate on a few points. Let me begin by the notion that maybe we are a little bit too much satisfied with what we have done, that we might only even be complacent. Ladies and gentlemen, we are satisfied, but we are definitely not complacent, because in view of the challenges in Europe, in view of the situation of the labour markets, in view of the lack of growth, in view of the investment gap and the innovation gap, there is no reason for complacency in the European Union, not for anybody, and certainly not for EIB. On the other hand, in 2012, EIB turned anti-cyclical. Until then, it was clear that, according to all decisions taken, the bank would have to reduce lending volume after the huge impact it had positively on the mastering of the first wave of the crisis. But then we had to go down again, and this is the reason why I then turned to the European Council and said we need either a capital increase or will behave procyclically, necessarily. So the European Council, with your support, decided in favour of the capital increase, and we delivered on that, and that turned the bank anti-cyclical, and we are proud of that achievement. Well, the analysis last year was clear. The investment gap is there since 2007. But in addition, and that should not be overlooked, we have an innovation gap in Europe and an education expenditure gap in Europe for almost 18 years. And this together is leading to a dangerous reduction in competitiveness of European industry in the globalizing economy. Sometimes we should look a little bit more around Europe. What is happening in this world? For 7 years, we have been in crisis mode. Now we are finding out that during these 7 years, others around the world have done their homework and have advanced considerably. So therefore, we need to address the questions of competitiveness. And this is the basic idea of the Juncker plan. And certainly, the Juncker plan does not only mean EFSI. It also means regulation, it means continuation of sound fiscal policies, and it means cutting red tape. And we addressed that issue in detail at the European Finance Ministers meeting last week in Riga. Now on EFSI, there is this continuous question of additionality, and I want to address it. I want to address it very, very clearly. EFSI, the shift of budgetary means from subsidies to guarantees, if you decide so, it's your decision, means that we will be able to address risk dimensions which so far the bank would have not been able to address in that volume. It is not true that we do not do very risky things. We have, under special activities, a window of between 4 and 5 billion euros per year for these activities, and we do them. With the Juncker plan, we will be able to do business in this field of far more than 20 billion euros per year. So it is a qualitative and quantitative change, and that is what is meant by additionality. Additionality does not mean that each individual project is necessarily higher in risk than the portfolio will be. The portfolio certainly will be considerably higher in that respect. So there is no reason to believe that this is going to be business as usual. The second point in this context, we have to make sure that the huge investment gap in Europe and the innovation gap in Europe is addressed by attracting private funds. Otherwise, it's never going to work. We have made a study last year identifying what are the differences between the targets set by the European Council and discussed in this very Parliament, and the means provided privately and in public budgets in order to achieve these goals. And these differences are so huge that with public money you will never be able to level that out. So we need to crowd in private money, and EIB is the crowding in bank in view of the huge volumes that we get from the capital markets every year, and the quality stamp that we put on projects, which then leads to confidence of private investors that it makes sense to invest in these projects as well. We have been addressing the differences in the economic development in the member states. Look at the per capita figures we had over the last years for activities of the bank. Cyprus per capita showed 306 euros per person, activities of the bank in Cyprus. In Spain, 258. These are the strongest countries. In Germany, it's far beyond 100, and that is very well justified, because the economic situation in Spain is the one thing, the one in Germany is the other thing. So we have to address the differences, and we are doing this, I believe. So, coming to an end, can be sure that we will use the funds provided by the European Union and member states with care and diligence, that we will try to preserve our strong position on the market, which of course AAA is not a fetish. AAA is a business necessity in order to be able to crowd in at reasonable rates huge amounts of private capital. We try to do this in an effective way. We're also trying to do it in an efficient way, because EIB is the leanest bank of that dimension in the world. Not only are we by far the biggest one, 2.5 times the size of the World Bank, we are also the leanest one. Compare the employment figures of EIB and, let's say, EBRD or the World Bank, it's dramatic. And from that point of view, you can be sure that we try to be not only effective and have an impact on the improvement of the situation in Europe, but we're also trying to be efficient. Thank you very much.
Merci. Monsieur Otasun va conclure ce débat.
Gracias, señor Hoy. Bueno, en primer lugar, agradecer a las contribuciones que se han realizado al debate y especialmente a las contribuciones de los ponentes en la sombra. 4 puntos muy rápidos, señor Hoyer. El primero, sobre el EFSI, quiero insistir en una cuestión que decía mi compañero, que es que respetemos los procedimientos. En el sentido, no nos pareció bien que el Banco anunciara ya proyectos cuando aún no hemos finalizado trílogos y, por lo tanto, sería importante que en la dinámica institucional respetáramos los ritmos. Segundo, nos preocupa mucho este Parlamento, creo que lo han mencionado muchos de mis colegas, la cuestión de la transparencia. No he podido mencionar antes el caso de Glencore, pero es un caso importante, incluso un caso del cual el Defensor del Pueblo Europeo mostró interés. Las conclusiones de la revisión de la política de transparencia ya sabemos cómo han salido, por lo tanto, sí nos gustaría que ustedes prestaran mayor atención sobre esta cuestión. La tercera cosa que quisiera decir, en sus 2 intervenciones no ha mencionado en ningún momento la cuestión de los project bonds, y los 2 primeros no han salido bien. Quiero insistir otra vez, bueno, mi colega italiano citaba también el Passante di Mestre, la autopista, al cual no he podido hacer referencia al inicio por falta de tiempo, pero insisto una vez más en la cuestión del Castor. Yo no creo que ustedes puedan dejar que la cuestión del Castor termine como pretende el Gobierno español, haciendo un bailout y haciendo pagar eso a los ciudadanos españoles. El Banco debe tener mayor implicación en ese tipo de proyectos en los que financia, y me parece, y esperamos que eso, desde este Parlamento, que ustedes puedan intervenir para que eso no termine así. Y la última cosa que me gustaría decirle, creo que sería un buen ejercicio que, una vez aprobado el informe del Parlamento, pudiéramos desarrollar un diálogo para ver cómo las recomendaciones que aprobaremos esta mañana puedan ser implementadas en el Banco. Yo creo que eso estaría bien, que fuera y se estableciera como una tradición, y en cualquier caso le agradezco su presencia. Gracias.
Merci, mes chers collègues. Le débat est clos et le vote